Well, and I think there's even more structural problems that we have besides ours, because my question is, we can't allow for what I see as the migration of property tax to small businesses to continue, because your problem gets worse, whether or not the city's here or not. And I think that's a more fundamental issue that we need to address both with the county and the school district and the state. I mean, it's more fundamental than even this transportation utility fee, because the exemptions are not going towards small businesses. The variations, the exemptions, and the incentives go to people that are typically Fortune 500. I'm telling you that even if you fix this, there's a more fundamental change that you need collectively to be working on. If we don't have the money, we can't spend it. I mean, that's just the obvious. And right now we don't. We haven't collected anything.
Our meeting next week is basically going to be like this, but to answer, and I don't remember Beverly's husband's name. Yes, I'd be happy to have a Mike. I'd be happy to have a meeting with business owners that want to come in and talk about how we're going to get our arms around this and have some other ideas. I've been asking about that all the way along. I've said, if you don't like what we did and where we're going, you need to come in and talk to us about it, because I'm all ears. And you know what? The silence was deafening, so I'm a little bit frustrated at this point. I want to listen. We need to get our arms around it because we're all part of it, and we've got some real serious infrastructure things we need to take care of, and we cannot just let it decay because it will cost us all more money in the long run. That being said, I am real happy to talk with folks, but what I don't want that meeting to be is I don't want it to be not constructive. I don't want, I guess if you want to take pot shots at me, that's fine. You need to leave the staff alone. They're like everybody else. They're working. They have families to take care of. They're not getting raises. So if you're going to be mad at somebody, I'm the one that got elected. I'm the one that gets to take the hits. So you leave the staff alone. That's my first rule. And the second rule is I'll expect everyone to be civil. And I want to hear all the different ideas, and I want people to talk. I want them to listen to what everybody has to say, and I want them to civilly respond to each other. I don't care whether you like it. I don't care whether you like me. I don't care whether you like anything, but we're going to have a civil discourse when you want to come to me with some ideas. And it needs to be more than you did it all wrong, you stepped in it, you're stupid, you shouldn't have done this, or any of the other things. We are charged as elected leaders, and in the City of Mission, this is not a full-time gig for us. We all have jobs outside of this. We have families outside of this. And then we do this because we try to do the right thing for our community, not because we want to go mess with people's lives. And so, we're doing this as part of a civic duty. And whether you can say I'm full of it or not really doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is doing the right thing for the community. And the business community is part of our community, as are the residents that really are the ones that also tow a big bill here in the City of Mission. And if you don't like the way we're doing it, I want you to come in when we're working on this process, because I've been loud about it. I've been very willing to admit I don't know all the answers. I'm not smart enough to know that. I don't need to know all the answers, because collectively we come up with a much better solution. It's the way that the state statute works that we're in the confines with. The council went ahead and authorized the utility fee because our budget had to be turned into the state, and because it has to go to the county through that whole process. A big part of this was that residents and businesses that came to our meetings wanted us to also vote on a sales tax. And with the passage of a sales tax, the impact of this fee would be less, because the sales tax then would be used to replace a portion of that fee. So council had not considered not going forward because of the feedback that we've been getting from our residents and the business owners that have contacted us, is that we need to continue to move forward with the plan, because it's not that we're spending that kind of money in 1 year. It's a multiple year project, because we can't do it all, and we didn't think our neighbor in Fairway bonded their roads, and we didn't think that was the right approach, to take on more debt and try to bond that. And obviously if the road fails, we're going to have to do something fast and rather catastrophically, and that in my experience, usually winds up costing us all more in the long run. And so we didn't think that was a good thing to wait till failure and cause, unexpected disruption to businesses. With trying to have approach along Johnson Drive, we thought we could go through it a little more systematic way. We could get the utilities to go ahead and upgrade all their lines while the road is open so that we could systematically move across the road to minimize impacts to the businesses in that area as little as possible. But to answer your question, no, it's right, as of now, it'll come on the tax bills in December.
So it doesn't matter whether we have another meeting or not.
Well, we're going to have another meeting so that people that weren't able to be here tonight can voice their opinions, but I intend to we're going to keep talking about it and work to get our arms around it, because it sounds like there are a number of people that have some additional suggestions for us to talk about, and I'm real happy to hear that, because the taxpayers in Mission like things to be transparent, they like things to be for a finite time, and they tend to like things to be pretty open and obvious, which is why the sales tax measure passed for the bonds on the community center, because it was for a specific thing, it was for a specific time period. It's actually going to sunset a year and a half early, because the voters had given 10 years or until we collect enough funds. We will have collected enough funds about a year and a half early, so we're going to be able to sunset that. And when we had our meetings, what the residents and the business owners that were present said was they want the council to bring to, they don't want us to stop doing infrastructure improvements. They feel those are vital, and it'll save us all money in the long run for us not to ignore those maintenance issues. And part of the reason we're where we are is because maintenance issues were ignored. And they wanted council to go ahead and put the measure on the ballot for the residents to vote and do that reauthorize that quarter-cent sales tax for another 10 years. If people want to complain that Mission is a bad deal, if you start looking at actually what you pay to the city of Mission, I understand that there are issues with the state, there are issues with the federal government, and we're the ones you can see and we're the ones you can talk to. But if you go and actually look at your different line items of that portion of those fees or taxes that are paid on those bills, the small percentage that comes to the city of Mission, if we wiped out everything, like Mike said, it's not going to really impact it'll impact clearly the services that can be provided by the city, but it's not going to particularly impact the overall size of the budget. And that's why when we went and looked at the issue on this infrastructure, and I'm going to use Johnson Drive specific, the way a lot of these roads were put in originally is the property owners were assessed. And we could do that, but you know what? If somebody can't take the $233 over the 10 years, they're not going to be able to take their percentage of that cost to redo Johnson Drive, because it's a lot more than that. It's really, really expensive.
It's in the hands of the property owners to make that decision.
Well,
Whether they not want it. It's a representative government. They have a right to make a decision.
it is representative government, which means people are elected to work on those decisions. It doesn't mean that everyone in the community votes on every single issue. That's why they have elected city council members. That's why we try to have public meetings, and we encourage people to come.
And the mayor was so nice to come down here to spend her time. I mean, I wouldn't want her job. I'm serious. And she's got to answer to us, and she can only go by what she's told. The decisions she makes, she doesn't make them. She was either she's to make or break a tie. Isn't that how it is? Yeah. So but she has to answer for the rest of the city council. So if you talk to Connie Footlick or the rest of them, they should be the ones walking in and saying to us, this is what's going to happen to city council, so forth. I feel that's where the breakdown is.
Well, but here's the frustration, is we did publicize that we were having meetings, and we did have folks come, because I will tell you, with Connie is a representative in Ward 3, and after the article was in the paper in May from Mr. Cooper, and then it was on talk radio, there were a number of people, residents in that Ward 3 area, who were really upset with what they were hearing on the radio. And they wanted to know what this story was in the driveway tax. And they came in droves to the very first meeting that we had in June to talk about it. And we laid out what the different issues were. We talked about streets, what their attitudes about the streets were, how we were working on funding and financing options, we told everybody, if you have some idea that you share it with us, because here are the ones that we've come up with, and we've got to figure this out. And if we don't want to work on our infrastructure and we're going to stop, then, that was also a consideration. And with that neighborhood, and they all talked, and it was all shared amongst that neighborhood. And after the ends of the meetings, when we got to the funding meeting, only one person from that neighborhood came, because they had, kind of worked through it. They were okay. They understood what was happening. They were okay with it. But those are the types of communications we send out. So what I don't know, quite frankly, is when we're sending out communications, we try to do it by mail, we try to do it by email, we try to get people all different ways. For tonight's meeting, we went ahead and also sent out postcards to businesses so that they knew that there was going to be a place tonight, because what I was hearing is there's a lot of misinformation and people didn't understand what was happening. So, and I don't know where Ryan is, but Ryan had come to talk with Mike, and he offered to let us hold this first one here tonight. The one next week is going to be over at the community center. And so that's why we're here. I don't want to lose businesses, but on the flip side, I'm also told I'm going to be losing businesses, and they can't bring businesses in because their roads are really horrible and Johnson Drive's in such lousy condition. And so, and I've been hearing that for a long time. And so we cannot, so anyway, we're trying to balance it. I don't want anybody to think we're not listening. We're trying to, we don't want to lose business.
Why wasn't this corrected as we went along?
Well, I remember at the beginning, when I was first elected, it was brought up, people didn't want to do it because it was a bad time then. Nobody had money, businesses were just holding on, it was a terrible time in the economy. Anytime we talk about any infrastructure like this, that is what people come in and say, because infrastructure is not sexy. But it's such a huge underpinning of the community, because it's not going to do any of our businesses any good to have our road implode. And we were really close to having a sinkhole on Johnson Drive at Maple, and we had to go in and get that fixed. And for me, as the mayor, I think that's a horrible way to spend our money, to go and patch and patch and patch and patch when we know we need to fix the whole thing. I think that costs us all, small businesses and residents, more in the long run. And that's my concern.
That you're not gonna mess with the 4-lane, 2-lane thing down.
Oh, yeah, no.
See, now, this is the first time.
What was the first thing I said, Bob? We are not talking about a stinking 2-lane road. Nobody wants to do it.
Go to the next city council meeting and you'll see, and it's very nice. It's a gem, but we just cannot afford the gem now.
Well, we won't get it right now because it takes a while to do it.
Well, yeah,
Doing
with all the
stairs.
amenities that goes with it. It's primo. It's gonna blow everything else off the face of the earth.
But even using that, Dave, it's all a process, and as we start it, and if we get halfway through and people are mad that we're not done with it, it doesn't, that's my thing, it doesn't mean we should then stop. You've got to keep moving. We have to, you eat the elephant in little bites.
Well,
And that's what we're trying to do. We've got a lot of infrastructure, and we're trying to work on it, and we've tried to work on and do all the lower cost things that we could, and we could continue to absorb within our budget. And we just have a couple big ones that we have to, that are gonna take a little bit more to get done. I didn't want them wasting time calculating any numbers if after we had these meetings, people said, oh, forget that, that's horrible, we don't want to do it. I didn't want to waste staff time with it. So once we had that feedback that, yeah, this is okay, and then council passed it, then that's what staff's been working on getting all those numbers, and they have all the numbers now.
but we have to come together and work on this.
Absolutely, I
The
agree.
businesses as well as the administration. But right now, the businesses feel a little violated. And that's where the whole crux of the thing is. Yes, I know you said this meeting and this meeting and this meeting. But you have your own business and I have my own business. You know that we work longer than 8 hours a day.
That's exactly right.
And we,
I'll be going back on these years.
well, sometimes we can't take our nose off the grindstone long enough to see things. And these figures that came out with in the paper, holy moly.
Oh, I agree.
That's got them all.
I saw $4,000 right off the bat.
Yeah.
right off the top in December, which I can't afford in December.
Right, all right, I get it. I think the average little business on Johnson Drive is gonna be paying between $200 and $300,
Well,
as I
see,
understand
and
it.
that's what you present at the next